Welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. This is the show to encourage you to live your life to the fullest and do fun work that fuels your lifestyle. Hi, I'm your host, Gayla Scrivener. Every week, you'll be introduced to amazing guests, useful resources, and inspirational stories. You'll discover opportunities and perspectives to shape your version of living full and working fun. Hi there, and welcome to the Live Full, Work Fun podcast. If this is your first time here, thanks for joining me for the very first time. I am super glad that you're checking out the show. And if you're returning, I am so glad that you're back. Thanks. There are so many wonderful guests that we bring on this show to share their stories, share their experiences on what it means to them to live full and work fun. And you're here because you want to learn more about that or be inspired or just keep going because life has its challenges. But we can have this philosophy that we can strive to have this meaningful life and create the work that brings us joy to fill the lifestyle that works for us. If you're not yet a part of the Live Full, Work Fun community yet, I really would love to see you over there in the Facebook group. It's super easy. Just go over to Facebook, or there's even a link down in the show notes to the Live Full, Work Fun community. And hop in there, introduce yourself, and share what it means to live full for you. What's your biggest takeaway from this episode, for example, as well? So I bring on different guests, and this week I am so happy to bring back to the show Marshall Townsend. You know, Marshall began his journey into leadership with 20 years in the active duty U.S. Army as an armor officer. And in 1999, he retired as a lieutenant colonel and became a leadership coach, trainer, and mentor for the Army National Guard. Over the next 16 years, he trained combat units that deployed to Afghanistan and Iraq. In 2015, he left the world of government contracts behind him and started his own company, MT2 Leadership, as an executive leadership coach, trainer, and keynote speaker. Today, he helps business owners and leaders create companies and organizations ready to compete on the business battlefield. It's always fun talking with Marshall. He's creating that life with more meaning and fun work to feed his lifestyle. The great thing is, as his role as a leadership coach, he's able to work with his clients for them to achieve a full life and fun work lifestyle too. It's fantastic. So, without further ado, let's hop over and talk with Marshall. Marshall, it is such a delight to have you back on the show.
Hey, Gayla, thank you for having me.
Oh,
We've done this before.
We have. You've been on my podcast now. This will be your third time. And I always love having you on. I always love our conversations. And I wanted to bring you back on. I've had a little bit of a branding change. And I know, because we talk from time to time, that how you help folks and in your journey, you truly are living the journey of living full and working fun. And before we get started in our conversation, I would love for you to share a little fun fact about yourself.
Ooh, that's a tough one. What are the fun facts I know? Well, I for years, I do medieval warfare. I fight medieval weaponry. I'm a member of the Society of Creative Anachronisms, and I joined them about year 10 of their organization. And I think it's like year 50 now or something.
How cool. So is that like reenactment type stuff?
I would say call it reenactment, but it's actually full speed, full contact.
Wow.
Combat fighting. So it was much more of a martial art to me in studying than than dress up. Although we did all the dress up.
Well, how cool. That is so much fun. Well, going right into what is your definition of living a full life?
I think it's for me, it's having the freedom to do the things that you want to be able to do. And I think that's a big element of what I do when I coach people. But for me, the freedom, if I want to go back to my military side, the freedom to maneuver, the freedom to do what I want to do and own my own time, own my own business. I think that's a fulfilled life.
And you were in the military for a long time, and then you retired from the military and then was a coach and mentor for like most military contracts.
So I was 20 years active duty and as a combat arms officer, and then was brought back in to be a coach, teach, and mentor for the Army. And I did that for another 18 years.
That's a long time. And you continue being a coach through MT2 Leadership. What makes work fun for you?
I always love coaching. I think it's the breakthrough. When I'm working with people, what do I do as a coach is I really help them go from doing the things in their business that they've been told to do to taking ownership of their business and doing the things they want to do to grow their business or they need to do to grow their business. And not just being told what to do or what the book told you to do or what, the professor told you to do in school, but being able to take ownership of that. And when they do that breakthrough and they really begin to own their company, own the actions and their way forward, that is a huge breakthrough. And I love to see that because it just, they light their afterburners and they start to grow. So I've always saw that as kind of my passion, is to help that breakthrough.
You're out of the government space. Was there a tipping point in transitioning from getting out of government contract?
Well, I'll tell you, it's back to what really upset me about government contracting was no matter what I was doing, I was trying to, as this coach, I was still under this government contract who wanted to limit me to what I could do. And they also wanted me to report on everything you could do. Now, if you're a coach with somebody, the last thing you as a coach should be doing is reporting to somebody what your client said or what your client's doing. So that made it very hard. There was this loss of integrity from the contract. So that really contracting side. And that really upset me a lot. But at the same time, I saw the people that worked for me under that contract all committing themselves. They were 110% in supporting the mission. And the contracts didn't care. And I watched them just kind of begin to abuse our time, abuse us as resources. What I decided was, I'm stepping away from this. I'm going to go out and what I'm going to do about it is I'm going to become a coach for businesses and help them not do that to their customers or even to their employees specifically, is help them overcome, create that culture that is a culture of ownership of everybody in the company instead of the this top-down management that they have. My job was to train leaders and not managers.
Yeah. What's the difference between leader and manager?
Well, I always go back to the campfire. One of the things I talk about is climbing the mountain. We're on this journey. All of us are on this journey. And one of the dangers along the way is the campfire, where we stop and set a campfire. And what we find about the campfire is that when you're sitting, the big thing about campfires, you can't lead a campfire because a campfire is not going anywhere. So the most thing you can do is manage a campfire. And the job of the campfire manager is to keep the fire going, but never, ever let it go anywhere. Because Smokey the Bear is going to get upset. That stuff so you got to keep the campfire right there. You got to keep it burning, but never let it go anywhere. While a leader lights a torch from that campfire and takes it out on the trail, takes it over the hill into the darkness to light the way for other people. The manager's job is to just, keep the trains running on time. And they're important. Managers are important, but they maintain they never exceed expectations, They never miss their expectation, the level. The object is to keep it flat and level, never exceed, and never be below. A leader's job is to always exceed expectations. So there's a big difference between management and leadership.
Well, coming from the corporate world, being mid-level management, and then transitioning into the entrepreneurial world, I can relate to your analogy there of the campfire, because sometimes in my role as entrepreneur, I find myself managing. And I guess that's me working in the business and so far in the weeds, or so far managing that campfire, that sometimes I can't see or am not pulled away to take that torch and lead. But I find myself on ebb and flows for that. Sometimes I find myself managing, and sometimes periods of times of leading. Is that normal, or should we go back and forth with?
Well, I always say that
leading?
when we're climbing a mountain, I go back to this, is that, everything worthwhile is uphill. That's the thing I learned from John Maxwell. Everything worthwhile is uphill. And we love it when we're going uphill, because we feel the burn. We lean into it, where, no matter how much weight we're carrying, we love that fight because we know we're going and we're growing. But I also learned that not every journey is uphill. And a lot of times the journey comes and goes downhill. And when we're going downhill, that's when we get real intentional, and we kind of need to manage ourselves, because it's good to be, when you're going uphill, if you got momentum when you're going uphill, that's a good thing. When you got momentum and you're going downhill, that's not a good thing. You're going to wind up on your face. So you're going to have bloody knees right at the bottom of the hill. But that's where you got to manage yourself. You get real intentional. You get real deliberate in what you're doing. You're paying attention to the details. In fact, you'll find yourself, when things are going bad or things are going down, we paid a lot more attention to what we're doing. And we began to manage our time, our resources, our assets more. We saw this in COVID, didn't we? A lot of people were just kind of, out there traveling when COVID hit. Suddenly we got real intentional about what we were doing, and what was working before was not. So we were aware that we were going down, and we had to focus on that much more. But I still go back to and it's dangerous going downhill, but it's not the most dangerous part of the journey. The most dangerous part of the journey is when it's flat and level. Is you've gone uphill, you've gone downhill, and now it's flat and level. And you're probably thinking, no, Marshall, that's when it's easy. But it's easy when it's flat and level to get trapped in that management style, where you're just plodding along now, and you're just one step in front of the other, and you're not looking to innovate or to grow yourself. You're not looking for the uphill trail anymore. You've got on the flat level, and then before long, you start questioning, what am I doing out here? Where am I going? Why am I not getting closer to my dream, to my destination? And that's where we get in our mind that we'll step off the trail here and we'll build that campfire. We're going to sit down and we're going to take an assessment of everything we're doing. We're going to check what's in our backpack, build that campfire, and then we get stuck. You've probably heard it said that stuck stinks, but stuck also sticks. The longer you stay in campfire, the longer you stay in campfire.
Yes.
You get out of it.
If you are a leader or an owner of an organization that has managers, should they all be managers and that's their role? Or is that something that would it be advantageous to try to have them become leaders if they are stuck?
Well, there's an element here that management is very critical. I mean, we got to keep the planes running on time. We got to keep the trains running on time. You've got to have systems that work and operate, that are managed. But then there's that area where innovation comes in. We take a look at Apple Computer. When Steve Jobs was leading Apple Computer, he was leading that company. There was innovation happening. There was growth happening all over the place. Yes, part of that organization was managing the production and managing the operations of it. But in terms of where they were moving as an entity, I think everybody can understand there was this leadership that was taking them places, that was taking them up the mountain with new ideas. and they were getting out of they were breaking the status quo of everything that was, what the mindset was in terms of computers and smartphones and iPods and everything. And then there came a point in time here over the last few years where we haven't seen that much growth from them. We haven't seen that innovation. We've seen them kind of revert back into just managing what they got. There hasn't been a lot in the last 10 years or so that changed in terms of cell phones and technology. It got better, it got faster, it got other, but there hasn't really been revolutionary breakthrough that we saw when we had a leader in Apple that was just launching it in all these different directions. But so there's an important for management, and to be a manager, but there's got to be, if you're going to grow your company, you got to have that leader there that's going to take you to the next level and help you grow your company.
In the bio, I had mentioned that you help organizations get ready to compete on the business battlefield. Can you expound on that?
Well, it goes back to this thing about ownership. When we talked a year or so ago, we talked about the speech I give to the youth programs. One of my keynote speeches is about marking your ball. Is that when you're on the driving range, one of the things you never do on the driving range, you don't mark your ball. If anybody's played golf, that's listening. If you played golf, you don't mark your ball in a driving range. You just hit it, you fire and forget, it's gone. You're never going to see it again. But in the world where in real life, you want to mark that ball so that you can find your ball again. It's your ball. But at the same time, when you mark the ball, you take ownership and responsibility for the ball. And not just the ball, but where it goes, what it does, who it impacts, and where it winds up. You get all different aspects of it. And as a business owner, my job as a coach is to get them to mark their ball, to get them to take ownership of that and the responsibility for what their company is doing, and not look to someone else or look back. In the military, there was a lot of people that got the textbook out and laid it out in front of them and said, okay, this is what we need to be doing. And the textbooks is not always the answer. You've got to be able to run from your gut. You got to be able to, as a leader, find your way, make it your company, and take ownership of your company, and put into it the culture you want to have, or put you into the business. A lot of people are in business and they resist that because they've always been told to look outside the company for validation of what they're doing. Even people that look outside themselves for validation. And my job as a coach is to get them to look inside for their validation and find who they are, and then bring that to the surface and bring that to the outside world and grow their company according to who they are, not what somebody thinks they should be doing. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense what I'm doing.
It does.
When we go to school, this is one of the problems I have, our education system, is when you're in school, you're always being told from somebody else is giving you a grade. You're looking to somebody else to get an A, B, C, D, or F. Your validation is always looking to somebody else to tell you how you're doing, what you're doing. And, are you good at what you do? You have to look outside. But in real life, you got to look inside. And when you learn that transition and you stop worrying about what people outside are thinking, and you start thinking in terms of what you want to do, that's the jump in growing your business to me.
And that's something that I know I struggled in entrepreneurship. Is I was trying to at first do what others were doing and trying to figure out, oh, how do I do this stuff, and not being as authentic to what felt right to me. I mean, had you gone through that, taking the leap from your government contract work to your own leadership business?
Oh, absolutely. And it was a leap that I landed straight on my face. I mean, it was a big leap, and I crashed and burned because I didn't do that. It was like, okay, I build a business. I'm gonna go take these seminars. I'm going to go to these workshops. I'm going to read this book. I'm going to do all these things and build a company. And there, I have this company. It's ready to go. And why isn't it working? Because I had put none of me in it. I'd put everybody, all this other stuff into it. And then It wasn't until I stepped back and said, no, I need to build this from the ground up with me and what my culture is, what my beliefs are, what my DNA is needs to be in this. And then I got a pool of ideas that I can use, but in the end, it's going to be mine. And then that's where I started creating this, unique message I take to my clients is let's start with who you are and what is your dream? What is your passion? Where are you trying to go with this? It's back to the mountain. What mountain are you trying to climb? And then let's find our path up the mountain, because some of it, we're going to have to blaze a trail to get to where you want to go. Some of it, we may be able to use the existing trails that other people have taken, but eventually you're going to have to branch off and blaze your own trail to get to the top.
I'm glad that you expanded on that, because being an entrepreneur, a business owner is hard, and being a leader is hard. And you have many years of experience with both, and bringing in that experience and the challenges that you had, and you see things from the other side. And I'm glad that you had mentioned that, yeah, there's great things from other folks. That's why we need to retain. And that's why you and I are both avid readers, and we follow podcasts, we listen to other folks, but we've got to make our business our own. Do you have an example of anybody that you've worked with that just what had this pivotal moment that it was like, yeah, this is so awesome. This is why I do what I do.
Yes, I have a number of clients. None that I never talked to them by name, but I thought the discussion that I had the other day was on carrying your weight. Is that the realization that you've got when you're going up this hill, for example, we're going up this hill, what's in your backpack is the amount of weight that what you can carry is what you can carry. And until you start growing yourself, you start improving yourself, you start, like you say, learning more and growing yourself, then you can carry more weight. But a lot of times we're not ready to get to the top of the mountain because we haven't grown to the top of the mountain. We're trying to go up the mountain, but we're afraid to grow up the mountain. And so we're at the bottom of the hill with bottom of the hill thoughts, ideas, habits, hanging around bottom of the hill people. And we're trying, and there's this realization that I got a bunch of habits and ideas and beliefs that I need to throw away to get up the mountain, because all of those are dragging me down. So when I'm working with somebody and they start making, and unfortunately, sometimes they have to step away from the crowds that they've been working with, the people they've been hanging with. And I think we all experience that in life. I don't know how many of us have ever gone back to our high school reunion and said, I don't know, they all, let's start hanging out again. And it's kind of like, you're on a different mountain than me. But there's this realization that these beliefs and habits and ideas they have are starting to fade away and being replaced with more productive and habits and beliefs that help them grow. I had a client when we first started out, consistently 10 minutes late for every coaching session, right? And we started asking about that. And then through everything I learned about them, they were consistently late for everything they did. Tell me if you're 10 minutes late for everything you do, is that a top of the hill belief and habit, or is that a bottom of the hill? So how do we change that? That's a bottom of the hill habit. So what if we showed up 10 minutes early for everything you did? What would change? And there was a great resistance. And then one day he came in and said, I showed up 10 minutes early for a meeting, and I met 3 people that are now going to be customers of mine in those 10 minutes, because they were in the lobby. They were in some place where I got to meet them instead of me being late. And that was his realization. And then from then on, he was never late.
Sometimes in order to move forward, you've got to give something up. That's a hard thing to do, isn't it?
It is. It's very hard. I've heard it said, you got to give up to go up. But we get that wrong. That was go back to what we also talked once before, was about our setting goals. Mm-hmm. Is that, but the thing what I learned about giving up, in fact, I have a little workshop when I'm working with a company, is it's called Become a World-Class Quitter. There's the famous quote from Vince Lombardi. It says, winners never quit and quitters never win. But I disagree with that, because really successful people are world-class quitters. They're able to give up to go up. Of the 10 things they need to do today, they're willing to quit 9 of them and do the one thing. The Keller wrote the book, The One Thing. They're able to focus on the one thing and quit the other 9 things and not do those. So they're able to quit things or put them in a priority, reprioritize them and put them off the table to focus on the one thing to move forward. But here's what I always say about quitting is that when you quit something, let's say I've decided I'm not going to sleep in anymore. Instead of getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, I'm going to get up at 5:30 every day. So I'm not sleeping in. Okay, so I'm going to quit a half hour of sleeping, right? What are we going to replace that with? That's the question. When I quit something, what do I replace it with? And if it's not of something of higher value, guess what? I will ask somebody, okay, you're going to get up earlier. You're going to quit. What are you going to replace that? Well, I think I'll read a book during that time. Do you like to read books? No, I'm not a book reader. Okay. Maybe I'll go to the gym. Do you go to the gym a lot now? No, I don't go to the gym a lot now. Okay. So what are the odds that this person is going to quit 30 minutes of sleep and actually do that consistently? Is they don't have anything of higher value to fill that half-hour slot with. So they're going to sleep in. They're going to hit the snooze bar and sleep. And that's the way with a lot of things. If we quit something, we need to replace it with something of higher value that drives us, encourages, calls to us to fill that time. And that's what part of what I do as a coach is, let's find those higher value things. Let's find the things that, are bringing you the greatest rewards and start doing them instead of the things that are just old habits or old things that you used to do. And like you said, we got to give up some of those things.
You have a new resource out, 30 Days of Leadership and Positive Thoughts.
Yes.
And mindset has a lot to do with leadership. So can you tell us about that program?
Well, it started with this discussion, like you say, a mindset is this idea that what we think about is what we do. Is what, if we're thinking about something, if we're thinking positive thoughts, then we're going to make positive growth in our business. So the object was to start every day with some sort of thought that just gets us to, carry that through the day and think about how it applies. And so what I did is I said, first I started before I built the program. I said, okay, let's come up with 30, and I took pictures that I have taken, not the random stuff from off the internet, but I took 30 pictures I'd taken and then took some of my quotes and then some of famous quotes, what we call dead guy quotes. Mm-hmm. I'm a military guy. You got to quote General Patton and Napoleon and, those are kinds what we always call dead guy quotes. But you got to get some quotes and then match them up to the pictures. And I created 30 of those. And then I built an automatic program through a funnel system I'm using what Mike Kim's program, which is Brand New Funnels, to make that available where you sign up for it and it's automated and it sends you out every day. And you can start anytime. Your 30 days starts whenever you sign up, and it continues flows for 30 days of you getting the thoughts. And the object is to help you kind of just think about something different today. Put an idea in your brain and work with that during the day to see how that helps you grow and think new thoughts in your business, in your life.
I know I saw on Instagram fairly recently a stack of books that's on your reading list. What has been your latest book that you've read, and what was your biggest takeaway from it?
I have to admit, one of my favorite reads is lately was You Are the Brand by Mike Kim. I really enjoyed that. There was a lot in there, content, especially on how to find your why. I've read a lot of books on getting your why, but Mike really broke it down into why is it you're doing what you're doing? And it was the 3 things, what pisses you off, what breaks your heart, what are you doing about it? Thought process. And I thought that was really powerful. That was a game changer in Mike's book. And what also I like about Mike's book is it's a blueprint. It's just not talking about it. It's telling you how to do it. So
Definitely.
So
Yes, it is a
so
blueprint.
yeah, so I was able to take for that, and it goes back to what I was saying. So I hear that I have some really good guidance, but it's his guidance. From that, I was able to walk away and say, okay, how am I going to apply it? How am I going to make this mine? And that's why any book that I can take away and say, okay, how do I make this mine and use it is what I'm looking for.
Thank you so much for joining me again today. I always love having you on the show, and you're going to have to come back again because we just have wonderful conversations.
I love being on the show. You always ask the hard questions of me, and I like that.
Well, Marshall, be sure to tell all of us how we can stay in contact with you.
Okay, I've got my website is marshalltownsend.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter at MT2 Leadership. You can also find me at Marshall Townsend II, but MT2 Leadership is the other link that you can find me. And like I say, please go to my website. I got a link right there where you can also sign up for the 30-day of positive quotes and leadership and positive quotes. And give me your feedback. I'd love to hear.
The journey starts with the first step. So that is awesome. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
I just love learning from Marshall. Let's continue this conversation, shall we? Hop over to Facebook and post what your biggest takeaway from today's show was in the Live Full Work Fun Facebook group. Now, my biggest takeaway was a mindset shift for growth takes time, and no one else on this grand earth can do that work for us. That mindset shift has to come from within us. But we certainly need an outside perspective, like what a leadership coach like Marshall provides, to draw out from within ourselves how to stop managing our lives and just kind of going status quo into leading our lives to be full and meaningful. Now, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I'd love for you to do me this little favor. Do you know somebody that would benefit from this message? Just share the link with them, text it to them, and encourage them to listen. Well, thanks again for listening, and until next time, live full and work fun.